Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to our Thursday edition of, I don't know what we want to call this, but our community forum. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Just a couple reminders. I will be checking my cell phone a little bit to make sure my sound quality is okay and that things are coming through clearly. And so I have a few folks out there texting me, letting me know if there's any issues with the sound quality. The other part is at the end, there'll be time for question and answer. So please hold your questions until then, because I may answer some of your questions as we're going along. Actually, it's saying that you can't hear me. So hold on, let me make sure we can fix this. Oh, okay. That you can hear me, typo. Anyway, I'm glad you can hear me. I wish I could hear all of you and see all of you too, but this will have to do for now. So as I was saying, if you can hold your questions to the very end, in case I answer some of them during the presentation, that would be great. I am going to project the presentation and share the screen, and we'll jump right into it. Okay, so hopefully you can see the screen. I'm assuming you can, but this is our April 16th version of our community forum. Hopefully we're able to provide information that you find to be helpful and to bring clarity. So hopping in here. Again, starting out with our social distancing piece, 6 feet of social distancing at the very least, if not more. I just want to make sure people understand that the Governor Cuomo did regulate anytime we're in public and unable to keep that 6 feet of social distance, we're required to wear a face covering. It doesn't have to be one of the N95 masks. It's just the way it's worded is some sort of a face covering. It could be something made at home or any kind of a face mask to cover. I'm assuming this is mainly in relation to folks that need to go to a grocery store to pick up groceries or something along those lines. If you're going for a walk by yourself, my interpretation is that you don't necessarily need to wear the mask unless you don't believe you can keep the 6 feet of distance, social distancing occurring. In fact, some of the regulations in his press conference that he gave today specific to this actually upped the ante a little bit. In the way I look at it is people who drive and deliver packages through Amazon, things like that, they're now required to wear face masks as well. And so that was kind of a new piece of information today. And then here is just a kind of a graphic showing how social distancing can save lives. Obviously, it's an animated graphic around a match stepping away and it stops the fire. So doing our part to social distance to save lives is essential right now, and it has been all along. The fact that perhaps New York State is plateauing with the number of cases and number of deaths, still incredibly tragic loss of life, but it's attributed maybe to the fact that we're taking the social distancing seriously, and the losses aren't nearly as drastic as what they would have otherwise been. So just keep that in mind. This information was updated as of yesterday, I believe, at 3:30 p.m. The county holds a Zoom session for community leaders. And at that time, they updated us that there are 74 confirmed cases here in Ontario County, 8 in the hospital. And tragically and sadly, there's been 3 deaths related to COVID-19. Our Director of Public Health, Mary Beer, made it very clear to express that the number of cases at 74 are probably much lower than what it really is, because that there's not an abundance of tests out there. And so if someone is in otherwise good health, but they're showing signs and symptoms, there may be reluctance to test the person because they're not at high risk. And so in all likelihood, our cases are much higher than 74 cases. There is a map on the Ontario County Public Health website now that shows number of cases by community, by area. And so that I know has been something that people were really pleased to see. And so you go on their website and check that out. But those were our numbers as of yesterday. There were 5 new cases yesterday. I don't have the numbers as of today, but they'll probably be up within the hour. So pay attention for that. Update of events, timeline of events. So every day Governor Cuomo holds a press conference, and these are some notable pieces. On Monday of this week, Governor Cuomo talked a lot about when it comes time to reopen, it has to be thoughtful. And there needs to be a thoughtful coordination between schools and businesses. And how he explained that was by saying, if they open businesses but not schools, that will create a really substantial hardship on families in that what will they do for childcare? Where will their children go if schools aren't open? And how will they go back to work if they have no place for their children to go? And so alluded to a number of times that when it comes time to reopening, that there needs to be a coordinated effort between businesses and schools. At first, there was the assertion that it needed to be a statewide reopening when the time comes, but he has since made comments that would lead us to believe that he might look at regional opening based on number of cases and how different regions of the state are doing. But again, not a lot of clarity around that other than just saying there needs to be coordination. The next day on Tuesday, the governor talked about and actually held a joint press conference between him and the governors from almost all of our border states bordering New York. Really, it started as a conversation piece between Connecticut and New Jersey because of the proximity to New York City and downstate, that people cross those borders regularly for work, for leisure. And we had to be careful to make sure that we were coordinated with what our regulations were or restrictions were. Otherwise, people just cross borders and do things in other states that maybe they're not allowed to do in their own state, and it's not going to help the situation. And so the governors from all the border states appeared to be very much in line that decisions will be made in unison as much as possible so that there is consistency within our region. And then yesterday, the governor issued a ruling that, again, I just mentioned that you must wear a mask if you can't maintain social distancing when you're out in public. And so there's a shortage of masks. So this will pose an issue for a number of people. Also, there's a ruling that if you're an essential worker and you interact with public, you also must wear a mask. And so, for example, in my position, when I'm in my office, I'm the only one here in district office, and I'm not really interacting with the public all that much, other than if somebody's coming to pick up a Chromebook and do an exchange. And so now when that happens, I'll need to begin wearing a mask when I do the exchange with the public with their Chromebook. But other than that, I would need to because I'd be here in my office with nobody else. And so those rules and regulations are changing and being updated daily. So that's what I know now. And then just today, the governor did extend the closure for school districts to May 15th. There's multiple interpretations because he literally said closure to May 15th. Does it include May 15th, or are we back on May 15th? If you look at a calendar, you'll see May 15th is a Friday. And so some may think, well, we probably won't come back on a Friday, so maybe it's through May 15th. I'm sure we'll have clarity around that, and we have time. And we're just hoping that we actually can come back on May 15th or the Monday after. Certainly would like to get back to normal, as I know all of you would as well, as soon as it's safe. So these are the things we know based on the governor's press conferences this week. Upcoming vote, again, I've shared this before, maybe a little more information here on this one. All we know is that board and budget elections and capital project votes, they can't happen until at least June 1st. There's all kinds of rumors out there about what might or might not happen with this. Can people vote remotely? Is it mail-in ballot? Right now we really just don't know. We're trying to read everything that's being published out of Albany specific to this, and there's not a whole lot of clarity, which is stressful. As I've shared before, our budget year starts July 1, and so pushing the vote off until at least June 1st is problematic timing-wise. The other thing is we have a significant capital project that's needed. We're naming it the Asset Preservation and Safety Capital Project of 2020. Really, it's nothing glamorous, but it's things that are necessary. Boilers, parking lots, ADA compliant bathrooms, a variety of things like that. And so next week, we're actually going to start creating a video to inform the public about what this capital project is. And we'll put that video out for everybody to see and to learn exactly what we're looking for. When it's time to vote, at least you'll be informed and can make an informed decision on that. And so at this time, just stay tuned. And as soon as we know more along the lines of elections, we'll let you know. Brave Square. So this is the first week that we've launched it, and we've asked teachers to send a week at a glance to all their students so they know what's expected, and so parents know what's expected. What we're hearing over and over again was information was coming through so many different sources: Infinite Campus, Schoology, email, Class Dojo, Seesaw, you name it. It was just coming in all kinds of variety, Remind app, Team app. And so we wanted to try to simplify things for parents. Again, I'm a parent of 3 kids here in this district, and I know when those notifications came to my cell phone for my own children, the first feeling I got was, this is a lot of information, this is overwhelming. We then turned it into kind of a routine that every Sunday night or Monday morning, depending on when they came in, we would sit down as a family and just go through all the work that needs to be completed throughout the course of the week for each of our children. We have 3 children, and it really did simplify and clarify things. And I'm hearing that resounding notion from people all week long that Brave Square really has helped to clarify the work. It is a communication device where staff members will push out to parents what needs to be done every week to be completed, or at least work towards completion. A piece of that, though, is item number 3 on the slide, student registration at canandaiguaschools.org. That's how you can update your contact information. If in our system you have a different email than what the one is that you're currently using, you can go and have that information updated by going to that site. So please email student registration at canandaiguaschools.org, and we'll be able to update your information that way so that you're getting all the accurate information. Also, I would say, just to be a little bit more specific, for UPK through grades 2, the week at a glance through Brave Square actually breaks it down by day. All other buildings, for the most part, is just indicating this is the work for the week. And so it appears as though that process is helping. And in fact, a lot of our neighboring districts are hearing about this Brave Square, and they're asking about it because they're hearing positive remarks from parents and students that are saying it's been helpful. And so some suggestions: if you haven't already, download the app. It's free in the Google App Store and the Apple App Store, and then set up how you like your information to be delivered as it comes, or through a digest setting at 6 p.m. at night, so you get them all at once. Whatever works best for you will work. And so be aware that this product is out there, and it's been really helpful so far. And then just to clarify, because I still get this question, and I'll continue to show this slide so there's clarity, we're living in 3 different items. We're living in Infinite Campus, Schoology, and Brave Square. Infinite Campus is a student management system where grades, schedules, and things like that live. So that's relevant mainly for staff, teachers, and administration. There was a time where students and parents might go in there, and you still could, and you still probably will want to look at grades and kind of track grades. Not that we're grading at the moment, but that's a place to do that. But you may not need to do that much longer for the purpose of grades, and I'll explain why in a minute. Schoology is a learning management system. That's where all the learning content is, and where students will engage with the learning. And so teachers will put materials in there, then students will go in there, and that's where they'll do their content and their learning based on, skipping over to Brave Square, based on that communication that will go out that will outline the work for the week. So the Brave Square will put the communication out. You'll see what's expected for the week, and almost all of that will be found in Schoology. If it's not found in Schoology, in the Brave Square communication, it will tell you where to find it. But I would guess 99% of it will be found in Schoology. And so that's how those products are used. They're used interchangeably. They sync with each other quite a bit. And that's really the 3 items now that we'll concentrate on, not all those other ones that you're accustomed to trying to navigate through, and it can be confusing. Meal distribution continues, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday. It's at the primary link. You'll see cones out. People will be out there. It's just drive up with your car, put your window down, tell them how many students you have. They'll give you a lunch and breakfast for each student that you have. And then I also just want to note on that, what an outpouring of support And just I'm so appreciative of our community. The idea for people to buy $25 gift cards to different businesses to help those businesses and restaurants and grocery stores, but then to take those $25 gift cards, donate them to the school, and we would redistribute them during this meal pickup and meal delivery process. We had an initial collection, about 350 gift cards donated. I think we doubled that yesterday. And so another 350 came in. It's just unbelievable what this community has done to support the restaurants and the grocery stores, but also to support families that could probably use the support. And so we started handing those back out again this Wednesday. We handed them out today, Thursday, the gift cards, and then we'll hand them out again on Friday. We'll then recollect what we have and then start a redistribution again next week if we still have some more left over. But thank you for your generosity and your compassion. It's just been incredible. The mental health resources page, this one looks a little bit different. Again, at the very top is the primary resource. That's going to Mr. John LaFave. He's our Director of Student Support Services at our CACC. The number there is listed. He will receive the call if there is anybody, a parent or a student who believes that their student needs some support, mental health support, to call there. And we have a whole flow chart and process that we'll follow to make sure people are getting the services and the help that they need. Additionally, Safe School Hotline, this is on our website, and it's also a little more prominent now on our website. If you go to our health services page, that's all the COVID-19 information. Under mental health, you'll see this there. It's an anonymous tip line. And so if you have a concern about a student, you can call that number or email, go to their website or text, and share the information that's concerning. That information goes to myself and a couple other administrators immediately, and then we'll dispatch whoever we need to dispatch to help with the student who may have a mental health need. And so just wanted you to be aware of that. It is on our website, and it's a valuable resource that you could all use. Again, the YMCA is still offering emergency childcare. Please give them a call at the following number if you need any assistance in that regard. If you're a first responder, you're in the healthcare industry, or you're an essential worker and you need healthcare, they're available. Scheduled events, again, we're still talking about if we don't return, if we're closed longer, how do we honor our seniors? How do we recognize them? Actually, in fact, right before this forum, I was emailing with our athletic director and academy principal just around different banners and things like that which we might explore if the closure continues. And so we're just kind of taking in all the ideas, and we'll be positioned to do a variety of things when and if the time comes. But I think even though we're still extended through our closure until May 15th, there's still hope, and we'd like to hold out hope that we'll be back together on May 15th a little bit longer. Extracurricular activities and trips. The only thing that's kind of new here is the junior prom. That was supposed to be, I believe, on May 8th or somewhere in that vicinity, and now we're close to the 15th. So we'll have to look at a postponement, finding a new date and a location. And so please stay tuned for that, and we'll see what we can do to make that event still be a go. Spring sports. So nothing new to report here. The ADs are still meeting monthly to talk about, and ADs are athletic directors, if you weren't aware, to talk about what a season might look like in a shortened fashion. So we'll see if we could salvage some of the spring sports season. I sure hope so. One thing that I just want to put on your radar, this is completely optional, but our athletic director, along with a few of us, will be working with our coaches, modified through varsity, to create at-home training opportunities for students that signed up to play particular sports. So it would be communicated similarly through Brave Square on a weekly basis that will kind of outline different things you can do from home with limited space that will help you stay fit and keep your skills sharp, modified through varsity. Again, this is completely optional, but we know that it can be hard being stuck at home all day long for days on end. And so maybe this is something that will help kids stay active, give them something productive and healthy to do. Some of our teams are already doing a lot of this stuff, and they're doing that, and then they're doing Zoom sessions just to keep connected as a team. And so we're looking to offer this as opportunities. Again, it's not required, but it's something that we're trying to put out there for families and for students so they can keep involved in positive things. Kindergarten registration, stay tuned. We actually think something will be coming out about that in the coming days, but definitely within the week with further information about how we're running kindergarten registration. And then, of course, going along with all of this, all district facilities, including our athletic fields, are closed. We're not because we don't want you there, because we do under normal circumstances, but these aren't normal circumstances. We need to do our best to social distance and to try to get back to normal as quickly as possible. And so thank you, everybody, for everything you're doing to be supportive of our really difficult circumstances we're in right now. Thank you to our parents who've been thrust into the role of teacher. I know it's not easy. And thank you to our staff that you're working so incredibly hard, trying to provide meaningful opportunities for students and families. And it's a delicate balance. It really is. We know some families are just incredibly overwhelmed, and we know some families are looking for more, and they'd like more rigorous activities to do at home. But as professionals, what we need to do is look at our entire community and try to find out what fits best and how can we meet the needs of most under this really peculiar and unusual circumstance. And so, like I said before, there's no handbook for this. But if there is to be a handbook in the future, I sure hope they base it on a lot of what we've done, because I think collectively, as a staff, as students, and as parents and community, we've done a lot of things right. And the things that we've done wrong or have been confusing, we're working to improve every single day. And so again, thank you all for everything. I'm going to open it up to questions now and stop sharing my screen so I can see those questions a little bit easier. And I'll do my best to answer as many as I can in the bit of time I have left, which is about a half an hour, 35 minutes. So stop sharing the screen, open up the questions, move it off to the side. So the first question is, if they decide to reopen schools and in this problem, I'm going to kind of paraphrase this problem of COVID-19 isn't completely resolved, that the problem will probably grow again. It'll reignite, and we'll have this more cases. And the governor has talked about that time and time again as well, that's his concern. Whereas in China and Hong Kong, where they've kind of reopened and gone back to somewhat normalcy, that they've seen a resurgence of COVID-19 cases. And so that is something that's, I know, on the government's and the governor's mind, and something they're really trying to follow closely to learn from others who are ahead of us, whether it's Italy, China, Hong Kong, a variety of different places that have had a density of COVID-19 and kind of plateaued and maybe started to decline. And then society started to reopen, but then they had a resurgence, learning from that so that we don't make those same mistakes. And so I want to believe that our government will make the right decision and not bring us back too early and risk that occurring. But if the governor opens us, and this was some of the original information that was shared, if there was ever a case within the school system and there was exposure, you had to close that building, evaluate the degree of exposure, and then evaluate when was safe to come back. So I don't know if that guidance still exists, because that was way back right before schools even closed. But I would assume if we reopened and there's a resurgence, we'd be forced to reclose again. And the part about feeling unsafe to come back to school, you won't be alone. I think parents, students, and staff will all feel that way. No matter what, when we reopen, I think there'll be that feeling, and then we're gonna have to manage that based on what the government's telling us we can and can't do. So really a lot of that's yet to be determined. Is there a certain day or time that teachers need to send the week at a glance? One family's getting theirs on a Sunday night. So what we've asked staff to do is to send it by Monday morning at 9 a.m. So some might send it Sunday night, some might send it Monday morning. I think so this is brand new, And some even sent it after 9 on Monday just because they, were trying to figure it all out. But I think as time goes on, that there will be more consistency to it. And, we've even talked about having it go Friday night or Friday afternoon for the week ahead, but that was a really difficult timeline for teachers to meet because they're really working crazy hours up through the work week. And so weekend is the time for them to kind of get their breath and start thinking about the week ahead a little bit more and planning for the week ahead. So to answer your question, we've asked them to send it out Monday mornings by 9 a.m. And so that should be the plan. I think you'll get the majority of them Sunday evening or Monday morning. Best way to find out if their child's completing their work. So I think that depends. The question is Infinite Campus, and I would say no, not Infinite Campus, because it won't show a true grade. And so Infinite Campus is really kind of a staff tool right now. But what I would say, if it's a primary elementary school student, email their teacher and just ask, how are things going? If you have concerns and it's secondary, you could email, again, their teachers, because they have multiple teachers, and just say, how's it going? Are there concerns? But know that we do have a process in place that if we feel like kids aren't engaging at the level that they should, or we would hope, and that's a gray area because the level of engagement will vary by house and capacity, we have a process where teachers will reach out to students first at the secondary level, then they'll reach out to parents second at the secondary level, but first at the primary elementary level, and just ask, is everything okay? Is there anything I can do to help? Are there any barriers that are preventing engagement? And so if you're not receiving those emails from the teacher, your child's probably doing fairly well. If the teacher emails the parent and they don't, the engagement level doesn't improve, or they don't get a response, then they'll the teacher will connect with the principal, and the principal or counselor will call home and just to try to determine what are any barriers that exist and how can we help remove those barriers. I did receive a list of students today that need internet connectivity, so hopefully we can help those students and get that taken care of. But if you're not hearing from the teacher or the principal, your child is probably doing enough. If you're still concerned, I would say email the teachers. So those who purchased the insurance for the DC trip, should they submit the claim form for reimbursement or wait to determine how much is refunded? Again, these things are complex and we're working through with the travel companies trying to determine those items and come to agreements. It wouldn't hurt you to submit the claim form for reimbursement. So if you've done the insurance, go ahead and submit it. And in the meantime, we'll continue to advocate for a full refund, and we'll let you know as soon as we know more. Rebecca, I agree, this community is amazing. We're pretty lucky. Oh, that's pretty awesome, Adeline. Thanks for sharing that. I'm just saying a relative is on a school board in Michigan, and they've been using our district plans as their roadmap to help them adjust to this crisis. So good job to all involved. And again, it's a team lift. It's our administrative team, it's our staff, all of our staff. The students have been just amazing. Parents, so helpful, in the community, really rallying to the cause of everybody. And so that's really great to hear. Next week, I'll actually be presenting at a national conference, not at one, through my computer, and sharing some of the things that we're doing. And so, I think we are doing some things right, and we're not perfect. And certainly we're open to feedback, and we're trying to improve all the time, but we're doing the best we can. Hey, Micah, hope you're doing well, bud. Thanks for the question. So so the teachers, they're not able to send one schedule because, teachers, they're not teamed like they were in the middle school. So at the academy where you are, one teacher could work with pretty much the entire staff at the academy because they teach a variety of different grade levels or different courses. And so they're unable to create one schedule that would go to the student. But what you should be getting, Micah, is you probably have 6 teachers, somewhere in that range. They'll be giving you their information. And so pull it up on your phone app or on your device, and you can kind of see what each teacher has and just chip away at it each week. I know it's confusing, but here's the other thing. If you're confused too, Micah, email your teachers and ask, because they have office hours where they'll communicate with you via email, Zoom, or even some of them a phone call. And it really helps to hear their voice and to get clarity. But at the end of the day, Micah, I know you, I know how hard you work. Just try your best. Just do your best and don't overstress. Don't overthink about it. Don't overthink it. Your health is what's most important, and doing your best. Just trying the best that you can. And you know how to get a hold of me, so please get a hold of me if you need to as well, Micah. So music and art, are they optional or required? They're actually a requirement, but again, do your best. I know at the elementary level, they put out some music work just today, I believe. My daughter received it and she was excited to get it, although we understand it's another thing that parents are trying to manage at home. But we also know that for a lot of our students, music and art is their passion, and it's one of the things they get most excited about in school. And so having that opportunity for them is important. And these things are New York State required courses that we're teaching. And so the short answer is it's required, but just like everything else, do your best. That's all we're asking, is that you do your best. So this question, are teachers sometimes entering grades as missing or zero into Infinite Campus? So that's a great question, and it's actually something we're discussing as a leadership team right now. I think some teachers did enter it as missing or zero. We're looking to change that. Given our circumstances, that's not the tone or tenor we want to express. So what I think we'll be entering is something along the lines of completed or not yet completed. Obviously, you can't enter all those words or letters, but something to that effect: completed, not yet completed, knowing that people are working on different timelines and capacity. So where there maybe were zeros that were entered, we hope to be cleaning those up if they're not already, and we'll be communicating with that with staff. I think we started that communication a bit last week, and then in their communication, we'll continue to try to clarify how that should look in there. One of those things we're learning as we go. I'm getting text messages. I'm just worried that maybe I wasn't clear on something, so let me check it real quick. Yeah, that was just saying some are entering missing. I guess that missing, not yet completed, perhaps that's how it looks, but we understand that hopefully it will be turned in if possible, depending on people's capacity. Latest date possible that kids could come back? No, there's rumors, but none of it's been confirmed at this point. You know, one of the rumors I heard is if we're closed through May, that perhaps we won't come back. Personally, and this is just me speaking, I really don't care if we can only do a day or two. I'll take it. I think bringing us all back together would be really helpful if it's safe. And I'll say that if it's safe. I know we're all missing each other, and would like to get whatever we can get. Is it okay to send it on Friday, as that's what they've told the parents? So I'm assuming that it on Friday is the Brave Square notification for the week ahead. It is okay, just as long as it's out by Monday morning at 9 a.m. for what's expected that week. It is absolutely okay if you send it on Friday. I believe, and so you're probably going to see as parents three things. You'll see it coming Friday at some point, Sunday or Monday morning, the Brave Square notification of what's expected for the week ahead. You know, we could try. It'd be hard to coordinate it so they're all going at the exact same time. And in fact, I get the notifications on my phone when my kids come out, when their work comes in. And if I was to receive 30 of them at once, I probably would feel a little stressed as well. So maybe it's good that it's stretched out over a day or two. Can you make the week at a glance larger and easier to read? We're having trouble on a small tablet reading it. Maybe the small print. That's a great question. I don't know if on your device you can expand it. And you know, a lot of devices you can if it's a smartphone, you can just kind of expand the screen, or you can increase the size. If you can do that, I would say do that. I don't know if when teachers type in the week at a glance, if they use a bigger font, if that will make a difference. My guess is it won't cause it to be bigger on your screen. In order for it to be bigger on your screen, you're going to have to enlarge the font on your own screen. So we'll look at that though. We'll look into if that's something that's possible. Yeah, so getting the work that's due for the week ahead, if it was given to you over the weekend, it is helpful because you kind of can prepare over the weekend for the materials and kind of get organized. This is a parent comment, and I would agree it probably is helpful. And we're just asking our teachers to do the best they can with getting that out. We know they're working incredible hours and very hard, so I get it. Clarity around grading moving into the fourth quarter. Hey, Ann, this is coming from one of our teachers. Is it still credit, no credit, or will it be grades? There's misinterpretation and confusion. So let me try to be really clear with this. Right now, it's credit, no credit. That is what we're working with. We are evaluating, do we become any bit more granular? And when I say more granular, do we give grade bands? Or do we give a 4.0 scale where still we're not looking to fail people unless they blatantly are not engaging? That would be the only way, is if people purposely don't engage. Otherwise, we're not looking to fail anybody, but can we give grade bands? And I'll just be honest, one of the things I'm looking at is using a rubric where it shows level of engagement, and they can earn points for how engaged they are. And then they would get a 70, 80, 90, or 100 based on how many points they earn. But then, and I think this is the key part, then we would run an analytic to see the grade that they earned. Does it deviate from what they typically earn by more than 10 points? And if it does, I have a serious concern about that. I don't want this situation to penalize kids. And so if they typically get a 90, but the point system that I'm talking about gives them an 80, well, that's a 10-point swing, and I don't want to penalize a student. So these are just things we're kind of looking at right now and discussing, but there's no answer to it because there is no perfect answer. I do have some folks, students, parents, and staff saying, grade traditionally. Let's have the rigor and give them a 100-point scale. I have people advocating for that. Most people are advocating for just keep it at credit, no credit. We're overwhelmed. We can barely keep up. And so again, I need to try to kind of balance what's best for the community and is there a healthy middle ground? But I promise you, no matter what, at the end of the day, we are going to err on the side of students and not penalize students. And like I said, unless they're blatantly disengaging and not trying at all. And I hope I cleared that up. We are credit, no credit, unless you hear otherwise. The other piece we don't know about is, what if we do come back on May 15th? That would give us 4 or 5 weeks of traditional school and traditional grades. And so then that would look different as well. And so, but at this time, we're credit, no credit. I don't believe this question is really about the closures, just in general. Why doesn't the primary school report card have a grade for art and music? Typically, some special area courses that actually those aren't required per se. And so some special area courses, they don't carry a grade, but there's always been conversations about should there be a grade. And so we really rely on the department to kind of guide us with that. And if they were looking for grades, to work with the building administration to make that part of the report card. And who knows, in the future, it may. I think we as a district have been, especially at the primary level, it's about experience and educating the whole child. And we just want to engage students in that experience of art and music. We've even included UPK and those items as well, which is new because we believe it's important to have well-rounded children. So that question just asked about grade bands or still pass fail. We're still credit, no credit. We're talking about potentially going to grade bands. I can't emphasize this loud enough though. If we do go to grade bands of any sort, we will not allow it to penalize kids. And we have to figure out what that even means. Like I said, I've thrown out a couple of different options, and the option I threw out really doesn't even relate to the primary elementary school because they're a competency-based report card. And so there's just so many pieces that would need to be sorted out. At this point, we're credit, no credit, but we'll continue to talk about what it'll be. Oh, so I think this person's coming back to me with that whole week at a glance. They're doing it on their Chromebook. So if on your Chromebook, there is, somebody help me out and chime in here either by texting me or putting it in here. There's a way to increase your image on the screen. Every computer is different. And so I don't have a Chromebook in front of me and I can't think of what that process is, but there's a way to increase the font size in the picture on your screen so you can read it a little better. You have to scroll more because less fits on a screen, but you can increase your view on your Chromebook. I just got a text, so hopefully that's a person giving me that answer. 3 dots on the top right corner of your Chromebook. So you can, looks like touch those dots and increase the percentage of the image, or you can just use 2 fingers and do that on your screen and it'll expand your fonts. So I want to go back to a previous question about what teachers are putting in Infinite Campus. I just have clarity on that. Teachers are entering information just to account for if it's been completed. They shouldn't be adding information if it's not completed yet, and they're not adding grades. They're only putting in information to account for work if it's been completed in Infinite Campus. So this is a question, when does 4th quarter start? Actually, Mr. Stragi, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, is working on kind of timelines of quarters. Technically, the new quarter started last week, but I think it's a little bit irrelevant right now because we're just kind of looking at a body of work under this content or pass, credit, no credit lens, but technically it started right after April break. I'm getting more text messages, so hold tight here. Oh, and it's a little, yeah, the 4th quarter was a little bit different in the calendar for the middle school and academy. And so I would look at that as kind of irrelevant right now. Just continue to do your best, and we're looking at it as credit, no credit at this point. What are other schools doing with this credit, no credit, or how granular is the grading? And so it could matter for our juniors. What I can tell you is very few, if any, districts, public school districts in the state are doing anything other than credit, no credit right now. There are some that are dabbling with the idea of grade bands. And in this question, I believe based on it's looking at colleges and college admittance and things like that. We have communicated with college Office of Admissions and a variety of them, and they know this is an issue. This is an issue, a global issue, in fact. And so they will take this closure under consideration when evaluating applicants for admission, regardless of how you handle your grading during the closure. And so we believe, based on what these college admissions offices are telling us, is that it should not have any negative impact on students being admitted to schools. They have a body of work under traditional academic settings, and they'll have a body of work coming out of it in all likelihood as well next year, or hopefully towards the end of this year. But right now, districts are not getting granular. They're staying credit, no credit. Where I would say that maybe differs a bit are, some colleges and universities are doing more granular grading still, and their year is coming to an end. And some private schools are, and I would say a little bit of an uneven playing field. Some of those private high schools have a lot more wealth And so when they have families that come from more wealth, they have typically more capacity with devices and the ability to support at home than other communities. And so that would probably be the only exception. I'm seeing a little bit of that happening. Can the school provide paper copies for students? It's difficult. We're worried about the contamination piece because your child prefers the physical paper. A lot of the work being done online right now, it doesn't exist in paper form. But if it's something that your child requires, what I would say is start by contacting the teacher and making the request and seeing if there's some kind of way we can coordinate between the teacher and the building administrator producing and mailing copies. We've done that a little bit at the middle school. Mr. Arthur has done that a little bit to help in certain situations. It's probably not doable on a large scale for a lot of people, just based on, we have 3,500 students and about 400 instructional staff. So it's not impossible, but I would say start with your teacher and see where that conversation leads. Here's someone asking, please keep this at credit, no credit. Again, that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing people keep it at credit, no credit, or more rigor. Give us more information. Give us more material, more learning. We want more. And we want it to look like we're in school normally. I'm hearing that feedback all over the place. Again, I'll try to find a happy middle ground, but right now, just people's health and well-being is most important. Hey, Micah, thanks for chiming back in. Some students are really struggling in a variety of ways, socially, emotionally, academically. In that virtual classes, Micah, you're mentioning virtual classes. I hear this daily from parents and students when a teacher provides a Zoom class that their child, and it's all grade levels from UPK all the way up to senior year, their child lights up. Like it was a sense of normalcy. They got to see their friends and their teacher and how much that meant to them. I agree. When those virtual classes happen, it's something kids really, really benefit from and look forward to. And I would say not just kids, staff too, being able to connect. Education is really, I would say probably 75% or higher relationships. It's about building relationships. And it's hard to do that in a remote setting when you're not face-to-face. So I don't disagree. Hey, Dave, the question about transcripts. There are conversations about this at the state level, in fact, how things will be noted in transcripts during the closure, how things should be noted when they're exempted from Regents exams on a transcript during the closure. So what we're being told is that the state will tell us how to mark it in a transcript so it's consistent across the state and how that might impact college acceptance and scholarships. So the feeling is it's a level playing ground because everybody is experiencing the exact same thing. And when it's noted in the transcript, it'll be consistent from district to district. And therefore, it should be a level playing ground when it comes to college acceptance and scholarships. Control on your Chromebook, here's another way to zoom in and out. If you do Control plus or Control minus, Control plus will zoom in, Control minus will zoom out. See, there's three ways. Who knew? You all knew, of course. Okay, so this is coming up as from an anonymous attendee, but the way it's worded, I'm thinking it's one of our teachers. And so this is really good. It says, I'm using Infinite Campus for myself to keep track of work being turned in. And it's been helpful for students too, that this teacher is using M for missing or T for turned in. And also, I don't completely understand this one, but using some numerical grades simply to gauge if anyone is struggling in a certain area, but told students not to pay attention to the numerical grade if they go into Infinite Campus, only to look at M for missing and try to make that work up. I like that. I think that works well. Again, we may have a uniformed approach to this. I know we've been talking about it as a leadership team, but we may have a uniform approach coming out to all teachers in an upcoming communication if it hasn't already. Oh, and here's clarity on fourth quarter. Looks like it's shifting. It started on the 13th, which was Monday. We had to make a shift. And so the fourth quarter officially started on Monday the 13th. Thank you. And Mr. Tenney, thank you for confirming. So that might have been an academy teacher using M for missing or T for turned in. And so that's not at all a bad process to use. So here's a question about purchasing insurance for the younger kids for Chromebooks, because that was an option for the older kids when they first received them. In fact, we let the insurances expire after that, so we did the insurance, we honored it, but once that insurance that people bought timed out and went away, as a district, we took a different stance on this. We're providing these devices to our students as learning devices. So we are inheriting the risk of it. If they become damaged, we will fix them. The only caveat to that is if we determine a student purposely breaks or damages a device, then they will be charged for the replacement value of the device if they do it on purpose. But if it was accidental, we'll cover the cost and we will fix them. Remaining teacher APPR observations, we continue to ask at the state level what that means, what that will look like. People are advocating for a waiver this year with the APPR process. That's the teacher evaluation process. We haven't been told one way or another yet, and so we're still waiting for clarity around that. Retrieving materials from student lockers for specifically materials for AP exams. Dave, just email Mr. Tenney and he will help coordinate some of that. And I believe he's started to do that a bit already. Thanks, Melanie. Yep, and just a teacher just saying, because I said students really get excited when they get to Zoom with with a class and see their classmates and teacher. She just shared that it also helps teachers make their day too, because they miss the kids. And I agree, it does good for the mentality of teachers as well. So this was, not sure what it's referencing, but it looks like they printed off on a home printer to make a paper copy of a document that they wanted to do on paper. And then they took a picture of it with their phone and sent it to their teacher as proof that it was done. And so I think maybe they're just saying that's an option for people out there that want to do it on paper. I know that not everybody has a printer at home or could print that much paper. There are other ways to do it. But yeah, that's an option for paper copy that certainly could work. It just would be costly over time. Oh, Mr. Tenney is just confirming that they did email AP students, just indicating that there was a Google form they needed to fill out if they needed anything from their locker. And so that email for AP students has already gone out to people who registered for AP classes, and it went to their email that they used when they registered for the exams. Okay, gotcha, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Tenney. Another person just agreeing that the Zoom classes make a big difference for people and kind of normalcy during this time, and it does. Carrie, thank you for sending this out, just saying how teachers are going way above and beyond through Zoom and through a variety of means, presenting important content. The kids look for, her own kids look forward to seeing everybody, their classmates and teachers whenever this happens. I'll also say, I don't know what I was going to say. Sorry about that. I lost my train of thought. If it comes back to me, I'll come back to it. So Jody, long time no talk. Good that you're joining in here, talking about mindfulness. So is this something the district's explored as a possibility? In fact, we have mindfulness opportunities for staff and students on an ongoing basis every week. If you go on our website under our COVID link, I believe it's off on the right-hand column. There's a tab, and if you scroll down, it might be wellness or health, or even, it might even just say mindfulness. And you'll see we have someone offering mindfulness sessions, and we have some folks doing yoga sessions and a variety of other things. And so we are offering that currently. And we were actually offering mindfulness PD for staff right before we went into closure. And the staff that took the mindfulness classes then were signing up to bring mindfulness into the classroom or with their team if they were coaching a team or running an activity. And so, it's actually something that here in Canandaigua, we've really dipped our feet into pretty significantly this year. We've sent, I think, a team of 4 or 5 staff members to mindfulness trainings so that they'll be mindfulness trainers as well. And so we will continue to grow our capacity with that. And we know it's important. The question is, if it's missing, is it overdue yet? That's something we're also talking about. I think we should have dates that we want things to be turned in by, but we also should be willing to and able to accept things late, knowing that people are working at different paces. So that concept of, is it overdue? Maybe based on when they hoped it would be turned in by, but just continue to work to complete it if you can and turn it in when you can. You know, the credit, no credit, worried about level playing field for the different families. And that is my primary worry, is I do not want to create a disadvantage for anybody in this community by ramping up the rigor and expectation. And that's why I'm saying, if we come up with a system that's more granular, we have to make sure it's fair and it doesn't hurt nor penalize kids. Because the fourth quarter is changing, can the window on Infinite Campus change? Maybe. We can look into that. Sometimes when we program those things, they're set for the year, but we may have to look to see if that's possible. Will school end around the same date or expand into the summer? If it expanded into the summer, a lot of laws would have to change at the state level. I don't anticipate that happening. I think it'll end at the same date there or around the same date. Nyla wants to do a virtual bus ride. You should have your all your kids on your bus do a Zoom session with you. I'm sure your kids miss you too, Nyla. Updates regarding the new the Academy scholarships and the deadlines. Deanna, I would just say email Mr. Tenney and he can connect you with Leanne or whoever he needs to connect you with so they can give you that information about scholarships at the Academy and the deadlines. So we have encouraged teachers to consider using Zoom. Again, Zoom's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And so some people have reluctance around it, and we respect that and need to respect that some people are uncomfortable with it because it's not a perfect system. If you're reading some articles that are being published about Zoom, you know, there are some concerns. We're doing the best we can by having passwords and things like that, but it's not foolproof. And so it's just something we need to be aware of. Thanks, Steph. It's, I think we need to try to stay calm. All of us need to try to stay calm. It does us no good to be anything other than that. Gift cards still available. We're still handing them out. That we should have enough to get us through this week. And we should have enough to start up again and do some more days next week to hand out the gift cards. When you stop to pick up your breakfast and lunch between 11 and 1, they'll give you the breakfast and lunch, and they'll give you a $25-ish gift card. Sometimes it's $20, sometimes it's 20. Most of the time it's 25. Some of them are 30. We try to get them to all be 25 for consistency, and they're to a variety of different places. So they are still available, and we'll continue to hand them out. If you want to donate them, of course, we'll take donations and continue to distribute them. Need for parent volunteers to pass out meals. When we put out our email, my email communications, when we need volunteers, we'll have a link to volunteer. What I can tell you is every time we've done that, the volunteer slots fill within minutes completely. People are so generous to volunteer their time. Right now we're set, but I do need a volunteer probably next week to help me with the gift cards. And so what I'll do is I'll put that as a call out request in an email so we can get somebody to help manage that for me. Jeannie's just saying the same thing that they're doing. Okay, so in the middle school and Infinite Campus, they're putting missing if it's not been turned in, so students know that they haven't turned it in. And then when it is completed, they change it to submitted. So that's what they're doing on one of the teams in the middle school. Thanks for that. Team Seneca's doing that. That's pretty, in response to Nyla's wish to do a Zoom with her students on the bus, Mr. Amesbury says even better because she can mute them all. And so it can be a quiet bus ride if she wants it to be. But knowing Nyla, she likes a little bit of noise and a little bit of activity. What's this? Melanie, I don't think I fully understand this, but I'm just going to read what it says so people know. At our alternative school at the CACC, Mr. Kitzel does a mobile book mobile or something like that for kids. It's on Wednesdays between 11 and 1 p.m. So Mr. Kitzel's doing something. I'm not sure where he's doing it, through Schoology or something. So if you're a CACC student, you have Mr. Kitzel, reach out to Mrs. Bishop and Mr. Kitzel and ask about the Wednesday 11 to 1 CACC mobile book mobile thing that he's doing. So sorry, just trying to anticipate or trying to interpret what it says. Nyla agrees she can also do quiet. She likes quiet on her bus as well. All right, everybody, I think I got through all the questions. Thank you all so much. We'll do this again next week. Hopefully some of it was informative. I just ask that you continue to be compassionate of one another, patient and supportive of one another as we navigate these really difficult times. It was great spending a little time with you. Take care of yourself and have a nice afternoon.